Just fucking do it. Subscribe now. Congratulations for those of you that had to fight off quarantines, etc. Otherwise, we've had a few fallout because of the measures that are being applied around the world. In March of 2020, when I said that the world was fucked and that Corona was going to have 3, 4, 5 waves, I took a great deal of verbal abuse on the internet. When I said that the oil was going to go negative, I took a great deal of abuse on the internet. When I said that they were going to be selling cruise ships and planes for scrap fucking metal, I took a great deal of abuse on the fucking internet. Yes, Lord, I hear you. Okay, don't get excited. I'm so tired of being right at 76. You have no idea. And what you're going to learn this week, you could have gotten all free on my website, except for a couple of little bit of secret sauce from Deloitte. But I'm glad at 76 that I'm still capable of doing this. Although, as some of you realize, that I was going to quit a year and a half ago, or thereabouts. But I am really tired of saying that this is our market. Our closure rate of QLA is up 95%. 95%. So it's not quite double. But if I was one of the other gurus, I'd say it's double. We've had more exits in the last 18 months than we've had in the previous 5 or 6 or 7 years. Exits between 15 and 70 million. Not big numbers. Exits. That means they started and they got out. A pigfucker meathead just recently broke the record from leaving the seminar to doing a deal in 26 days. And I've given him ample advertisement, if you will, on YouTube and that kind of stuff. And as I've said, if I would have picked anybody in the seminar class, it wouldn't have been him. And when you can see him on a live webinar tomorrow. Is it tomorrow, DJ? Yeah. Which you judge for yourself. You're going to get a potpourri of examples of success stories, depending on how stupid the class is, between 12 and 17. And I will ask you, not every day, but kind of every other day, which one do you relate to? Now, since one of the webinars used to be somebody sitting in the audience, we're not going to show his webinar because he's sitting in the audience. But other than that, there's no real changes other than we've continued to update the webinars with success stories from the very few alpha males we've ever had to mice like you. Cunts. There's a reason why the cunt juice is on your desk, so you can apply it tonight. The basic difference between me and everybody that comes to the seminar is I had an alpha male dad that beat the fucking shit out of me. And I've lived my life, spare the rod, spoil the child. Spare the rod, spoil the child. When I grew up, there's a saying, sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can never hurt you. Now the world's the opposite. Kids commit suicide over Facebook, being disliked or whatever the word is. And that was certainly not what the regimen or the protocol was when I was growing up. My dad taught me, in between beatings, it's not what they say to you, son. It's how you interpret what they say to you. And it stood me in good stead these 76 years, because I've certainly had a lot of shit, and I've endured a lot of crap and my share of beatings. But for whatever reason, at a young age, my father was able to convince me that it's how you interpret it. Every time I got beat up, which wasn't that often, but, well, there must be some good in this, and silver lining and a cloud and all that horseshit. But then there's you. And there's the attitude that the world has from February, March, April 2020, and the Pollyanna attitude about COVID, and all the things that I said a year and a half ago that have come to fruition, and that's why it's our time. We're not closing almost twice as many deals now and exiting more than we have in the last 6 to 10 years because it's not our time. I said on a recent social media that the only good thing that's ever happened to me other than the birth of my children and my lovely wife is Corona. The only motherfucking good thing that's ever happened to me in my whole motherfucking life is Corona. For every other dollar I ever made, I had to fight, scratch. And now we've got it opened up like Pandora's fucking box, like a bird's nest on the fucking ground. But what I've seen in the last 4 or 5 months is the kids, you've taken your foot off the accelerator instead of pressing it down on the accelerator. Because you know it is easier. Because if you don't think building a board, a dream team, is easier on the fucking Zoom calls and Skype as opposed to having shoe leather and shaking their hand, you're fucking nuts. Before it took you 30, 40, 50, 60 days to build a dream team. Now you can do it in a week. But will you? Probably not. Probably not. Because you know it's easier, especially for us. It's like, I get in trouble whenever I say that. It's like shooting fucking fish in a barrel or taking goddamn candy away from a fucking infant. That's how easy it is. You're going to hear a bunch of people. And at the end of the day, they're going to say 3 things. Number 1, follow the steps, even though I know you're not going to follow the steps. They all say the same thing. They don't know you. Number 2, it's not easy, but it's easy. And number 3, the fucking model works. I didn't give him these words to say. And there's a French gal named Margot who's pretty funny. No, she's not funny, but because she's really a spoiled brat. She says, funny enough, the templates work. I don't know why that should even be funny, but it's not funny. I didn't write these cocksuckers because they didn't work. And we update the templates periodically, so you're dealing with the best of best practices. The stuff that worked last week, the stuff that worked yesterday, yet you won't use them. We know why you don't use them. Because you've been engaged in self-sabotaging activities your whole miserable fucking lives. Some of you are prone because of your ethnicity to step on your dick. And whatever the appropriate parts for the ladies are, okay? By your ethnicity. You're used to stepping on your dick. I said to somebody on a Zoom call yesterday, and because you stepped on your dick and the head of your dick is still hanging by a shred of flesh, you don't think that it's stepping on your dick. Just visualize, close your eyes. It's hanging by a thread. The head, whether you're circumcised or not, and you don't consider that stepping on your dick. But it is. The Glasgow boy understands immediately. Having been hit, not with a Glasgow kiss, a headbutt, hit with a brick by a 20-stone woman coming out of a pub in 1981, which when I tell that story in the civilized world, they say it's not possible. And you said happens every day, right? And by the way, have you taught them how to use the mic? Well, let's see which one fucks it up first then. We spend a lot of fucking money on these mics because people that listen to these YouTubes, and God knows why they listen to them, we can't hear them because nobody acts like they had a pair. I never was not understood one time in my life that they couldn't hear me. We don't need these fucking mics for me. But for you to make the QLA model work and follow the steps, you got to sound off like you had a pair. And for the girls, whatever I'm not sure what the analogy is, but anyway, they can figure it out for themselves. This group is privileged because we have a Hall of Famer who I'm surprised they're not sucking the blood out of you right now and have like leeches, Marcus, and his lovely wife. That's why my comment vis-a-vis Deloitte, because I actually read your backgrounds. I don't really need to read them because of the same sorry fucking stories, seminar after seminar, month after month, week, year after year, decade after decade. The difference between the kids in the 90s and the early 2000s is they were real men in those days. Because we didn't have webinars. We didn't have any of this shit that you've got. We didn't have templates. We had nothing. Yet most of the people up there are from the 90s and early 2000s. Now, in recent days, we've added 3 to the Hall of Fame, and we're going to talk about one of them, who arguably may be a billionaire now. And he left the seminar in April 2018. And we'll talk about that in detail. But it's fucking easy. It's easy peasy. Now, tonight we're going to have dinner. And after dinner, we're going to regroup in here. And then I'll give you a little song and dance for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. And then you'll see the films that you're going to see tonight. And then you'll do the homework. The written homework is due in the morning to Kim's email account. If you don't do the homework, go home. No refund. I'm going to say it again slow. If you don't do the fucking homework, go home. There's a direct correlation. Somebody asked me, how do I make the most of this week? Was it the Ukraine guy? Where is he? Did you ask me? Yeah, okay. Take copious notes. Copious means lots. Because you don't get the slides anymore. Why don't we give you the slides anymore? Because you use them for toilet paper. And you use that as a crutch not to pay attention. And there's a direct correlation now. The ones that take the most copious notes and then go back, and we're going to show you how to make the best use of your notes. You go back and you organize them and you copy them, and cognitively you're writing them down again in your brain. It works better. But the ones that ask the most questions have the lowest probability of success. I'm going to say it again. The one that asks the most questions have the lowest probability of success. And I'll be able to tell by noon tomorrow how many of you did your homework before you got here. Remember all that shit I told you to read that you didn't? So if you thought that little of it, you didn't do it before you got here, the fact then is compounded by the fact that you ask a lot of questions, which just illustrates how fucking stupid you are, and you don't succeed. Plus, I make fun of you. See, I believe whoever said there's no thing as a bad question was a fucking moron. I didn't ask 5 questions in all the times I flunked out of university. I didn't ask 5 questions in the time when I went back and graduated with honors in university. And I'm not considered gifted with 140 IQ. Maybe some of you have higher. This is not a joke to me. All you are numbers to me. Numbers to paste up, so there's no refuting that I was the greatest of all time, which I already am. I already know that. But 28 and a half years ago, when I started this fucking thing, in May of 1993, I had no idea how hard it would be. I had no idea. I thought everybody had self-esteem. And in today's interview, Marcus hit upon it, which is not any genius, but he did hit upon it. And since he's the only one in this room that's on that wall, if you have any modicum of self-esteem, this is easier. If you have any modicum of sales ability, okay, this is easier. Not easy, easier. If you're an accountant, a lawyer, a doctor, a registered to be a PhD, this is harder for you. Because this is not linear thinking. This is quantum thinking that you're going to jump from A to F. And all the things that you learn in those disciplines will be contrary to you being successful sooner rather than later. Are there any by the way, when we go in and you're seated, The gal sit and the guy stand until I say thank you and we all sit down. I mean, just like last time you ate at the palace, I'm sure. When the queen sits down and the Duchess of Cambridge and the Duchess, blah, and then they say, please be seated. Then the gentleman, which excludes everybody in this room, sit down. Any questions? Good. Duncan, hit it.